Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk a little bit about Follow Me Down. So this is book, God, I want to say 5? Yeah, I can't believe I didn't remember that. Book 5 in the Reckless series. As some of you may already know, I was incredibly lucky to I went to a Comic-Con with Sean and Jacob Phillips. So I did get this amazing sketch from Sean Phillips of Ethan, and pretty sure I took book 1 to go and get signed as well. I did. There it is. So I actually did talk to Sean Phillips while he was doing my sketch about this book, because I was actually saying that I've read all of them apart from the latest one, because at the end of, is it The Ghost in You? Yeah, at the end of The Ghost in You, there's something, I don't want to ruin it for everyone. There's something that is referenced that made me kind of really step back. Now, these books are so good as action thrillers that you don't expect them to be so emotional. But the ending of that book was incredibly emotional, and it did throw me a little bit. And I honestly didn't think I was ready for the next book. So that was one of the things I was talking to Sean Phillips about, just saying I will read it, because I am obviously very heavily invested in this series, but I don't think I'm emotionally ready for that yet. And he did actually turn around and say to me that he knew exactly what I was talking about. I assume that lots of people have talked about this already with him. But he said that is not anywhere close. We're quite a few years off from that yet, which I'm definitely glad about. But I did say that I hadn't read it, and now that I have, I mean, it's been out for ages now. It's pushing probably about almost a year. And I read it, and this book is, it's in the timeline of events. It's at the same time as The Ghost in You. While Anna's doing her own thing with that one, Ethan is doing this. So I probably could have read The Ghost in You. Maybe read it again, just to kind of recap everything. But I don't think you necessarily need to. And like I said, Ethan is off doing his own thing, and this was probably, I'm completely discounting the ending of that book, but other than that, this was probably the most hard-hitting book of the series so far. It does deal with certain circumstances that we can't really talk about on YouTube to do with children, and it is the kind of, it's the antagonist that you are quite happy to hate and want bad things to happen to. And the person that he's trying to track down is this woman here. And she was one of the people that was affected by these horrible, horrible, horrible human beings. And it does get to a point for Ethan where he's like, look, I've been asked to track you down just to make sure you're okay, but I completely understand why you're doing what you're doing, and I'm going to help you. And I can't say a bad word for that, because I think for the most of us in that kind of situation, if we did come across something like that, we would do exactly the same thing. There are certain crimes that are so heinous that it's just absolutely diabolical. So with that in mind, I would say this is probably one of the harder books of the series to get through because of the material that is presented. But it is still very good, and it is emotionally hard-hitting to the point where Ethan finally finds someone who he feels that actually understands him, and he does connect with them on a level that he hasn't connected with anyone previously. And again, there is something else that makes this just different from everything else. There is actually a 15-year jump from, was it 89 till 2004. And it's interesting to see the characters changed over the course of those 15 years, where Ethan has kind of become a rundown recluse because of everything that's happened. But overall, like this is I cannot say bad things about this series. I've loved this series ever since the first one, since Reckless dropped. I have been absolutely glued to every single one, and I guess I am a little bit disappointed that Phillips and Brubaker are actually taking a bit of a break from Reckless. They've done, I can't remember the name of the book. I want to say there's a book that's come out relatively recently called Night Fever. They've got another one coming out in Christmas time, which I can't remember the name. But they are taking a bit of a break from Reckless, and I'm both glad and frustrated because, like I said, I don't think I'm emotionally ready for the thing that they reference at the end of that book. But I'm also I want to read more. This is so good. This is without a doubt some of the best crime stories I've ever read in my life. I say crime thriller, yeah, like that kind of like action hero kind of thing. I grew up reading and watching CSI stuff, but this kind of detective stuff is just, it blows everything out the water. It's just absolutely incredible, and I cannot stress this enough at how good this series is. It definitely doesn't hurt that I have met Sean and Jacob. I believe Jacob does he do the colours or something now? But this is an incredible series, and I'm absolutely glued. I've loved every single book. I cannot think of a single book in this series that has been that's been a failure. Like I said, this one is probably the more emotional of all of them. I do still think that number one is my favourite. I just, it was such a fresh and new idea that I just thought this is incredible. But all of them have been just fantastic. So I will say that if you are a fan of the investigative crime thriller kind of novels, this is definitely a series for you guys. And like I said, I haven't met Brubaker yet. I would absolutely love to. But Sean Phillips is one of the nicest men that I've met in comics. His son is also just an incredible person, and I'd say support them, not just because they're good at the job, but they're incredibly nice people. But guys, if you have read any of the Reckless books, please let me know which one that you read. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought about it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because it all does really, really help out. And I'll see you all in the next one.